In our headlines on this Friday, August 7th, here in South Korea. South Korea's historic heatwave is no longer just a weather story. It's becoming a nationwide test of the country's ability to protect people, crops and critical infrastructure. Meanwhile, the US is imposing new tariffs on polysilicon imports as the Trump administration pushes to bring more chip and solar manufacturing home. And US President Donald Trump says he believes the war with Iran could end soon, even as questions grow over US weapons supplies, while negotiations continue over shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. We start yet again with South Korea's historic heat wave as temperatures soar past 40 degrees Celsius in some parts of the country on this Friday. Ipchu has our top story.
South Korea's daytime temperature continued to soar this Friday, recording over 40 degrees Celsius in some regions. This makes Friday the hottest ipchu, the solar term marking autumn's traditional arrival since its tracking began in 1973. The city of Hanam in Gyeonggi-do Province and Gwangyang in Jeollanam-do Province recorded daytime highs of 40.8 and 40.2 degrees Celsius, respectively. Seoul's temperature soared over 37.6 degrees. At 11 a.m., weather authorities expanded the severe heat warning beyond Greater Seoul metropolitan area to encompass more regions in Gangwon-do, Jeollabuk-do, Jeollanam-do, and Gyeongsangbuk-do provinces. Standard heat warnings remain in effect across nearly all other parts of the country. The extreme heat is being driven by hot easterly winds, pushed ahead by Typhoon Dolphin currently traversing near Okinawa. While the typhoon is forecast to make landfall in China around next Monday, incoming moist winds will clash with the Korean Peninsula's mountain ranges in the coming days, spawning heavy rain clouds. Over the weekend, Gangwon-do Province is expected to see up to 150 millimeters of rain, while Gyeongsangbuk-do and Jeju Island could receive between 30 and 80 millimeters. The Korea Meteorological Administration forecasts the rainfall will offer slight relief from the extreme heat wave, bringing daytime highs down closer to 33 degrees. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News.
In the meantime, the sweltering weather is drawing crowds of people to the beach, and my colleague Shin So-eun joins me live from one such venue. So-eun, welcome. So where exactly are you?
Good afternoon, Sunny. I'm currently reporting live from Arirang Beach in Incheon, which is one of the closest locations from the Seoul metropolitan area. By 1 p.m., the temperature has surged to 35 degrees Celsius, and the extreme heat makes me want to dive into the water as well. But for many visitors, escape to the heat seems much more manageable. This is because of the cool seawater and a breeze coming from the coastal areas that help them to have a bit of relief. Let's see what visitors have to say about their summer experiences.
It's one of the closest beaches for us, and I hadn't been here in a while, so I wanted to come back. The weather is really nice today. It feels cool, there's a good breeze, and the timing is just right.
We're visiting from China, and we think the scenery here is really beautiful. The beach is lovely, and the sand feels very nice too.
As of last weekend alone, 20,000 people reportedly visited the beach, and even more crowds are expected as peak summer vacation season continues through early August. Experts say water draws heat away from the body much more efficiently than air, so a swim in the sea can quickly cool the skin and help lower body temperature. Still, beachgoers are advised to take regular breaks in the shade or under parasols, as prolonged outdoor activity can increase the risk of heat-related illness.
But of course, So-eun, before you go, do tell us a bit about the different types of water activities available there, as well as the safety precautions to keep in mind, of course.
Well, Sunny, I can see that a wide range of outdoor activities are currently taking place right behind me. Under the safety regulations, some people are floating on boats, while many are speeding across water on jet boards, making the best out of the summer conditions. But when enjoying water activities, visitors also need to keep a close eye on the changing tide. Because Arirang sits on Korea's western coast, both the shoreline and water depth can change noticeably within just a few hours. Today, high tide came shortly after 10 a.m., with the tide level reaching about 6.7 meters. Since then, the water has been receding, with low tide expected at around 4:40 p.m. That means the tide level can change by more than 4 meters in just several hours, so swimmers are advised to check tide conditions, watch the water depth, and stay within designated swimming areas. By following the safety guidelines provided by the maritime officials, visitors can have the best experiences from the start to the end. That's all I have for today. Back to you, Sunny.
All right, so thank you for that reminder and for that report. In other news now, the Trump administration is imposing new tariffs on polysilicon, a key material used in semiconductors and solar panels, citing national security concerns. Our Park Onu reports.
A 15% tariff on products derived from polysilicon, a key material for semiconductors and solar panels, will be put into effect by the U.S. on December 4th. That comes after U.S. President Donald Trump signed a proclamation on Thursday local time, saying the measure was necessary to ensure that imports of polysilicon and its derivatives do not threaten the country's national security.
This is a series of trade and tariff actions under Section 232 intended to ensure that domestic polysilicon manufacturing is properly supported and protected from overseas dumping and offshore threats.
Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act gives the U.S. President the authority to restrict imports through tariffs or other measures if they're deemed a threat to national security. Thursday's measure also sets minimum import prices at $21 per kilogram for polysilicon and $100 per kilogram for polysilicon ingots and wafers, aimed at preventing dumping of low-cost imports while protecting U.S. producers. The measures also cover products used in the solar industry, as Washington seeks to strengthen the domestic solar supply chain that has long relied heavily on foreign production. Trump said the measures would also help bring chip manufacturing back to the U.S.
We'll have a big percentage of the chip business by the time I leave office, and we're bringing the chip business back into the United States in a very big way.
The order also includes incentives to encourage U.S. production of polysilicon and its derivatives, while authorizing the Commerce Secretary to make company-specific deals to promote such investments. Companies with approved plans to expand production in the U.S. may also receive tariff exemptions on some equipment and materials needed for their investments. While the tariffs will not take effect immediately, the administration says it will restrict imports by companies found to be stockpiling polysilicon or its derivatives ahead of their implementation. Park Onu, Arirang News.
So, what are the implications of these new U.S. tariffs on polysilicon and related products for South Korea? Our Picture Here takes a look.
While Washington's latest trade curbs on polysilicon and its derivatives pose a direct threat to Chinese competitors, the outlook for Korea remains mixed. Because tariffs for Korea are structured so that the combined rate totals 15%, including existing general tariffs and Section 232 duties, Korean firms avoid the heavy stacked duties and minimum import price hurdles hitting Chinese rivals. The impact on Korean firms, however, depends on their manufacturing strategy. Because local production gains the same shield against low-cost Chinese imports, Korean firms with U.S. bases can secure a stronger competitive edge. For example, solar giant Hanwha Qcells welcomed the move, as its massive Georgia solar hub stands to gain from the squeeze on Chinese imports while maximizing benefits under the U.S. Advanced Manufacturing Production Credit for local production.
As raw material sourcing becomes critical across the solar supply chain, this is a clear opportunity to reduce our reliance on China and stabilize U.S. supply chains. The 15% tariff is not just a cost burden, but a turning point to bolster long-term competitiveness.
However, material suppliers could face higher costs and stricter origin tracking if they rely on Asian supply chains for raw materials. Consequently, if solar module prices go up, installation expenses will naturally rise for both solar developers and everyday consumers.
Suppliers providing materials to local U.S. semiconductor plants may face reduced margins and drawbacks. However, the damage is likely to be far more pronounced in the solar cell sector due to its significantly higher shipping volumes.
Experts stress that the key lies in the final implementation details, including exemption scopes and price controls. While non-Chinese supply chain players could gain under targeted restrictions, more extensive rules could raise cost burdens, leaving Korean companies carefully watching for the final outcome. 백주희, Arirang News.
U.S. President Donald Trump says the war with Iran could end soon as concerns mount over U.S. munitions stockpiles, while talks continue on securing shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Our Ising-jae has the latest.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he believes the war with Iran could be over soon as questions grow over American weapons supplies and negotiations continue over shipping through the Strait of Hormuz.
And we'll see those days pretty soon again, based on everything I see, as soon as the war ends. And I think it's going to end pretty soon. I don't think they can go much longer. Yeah.
Speaking to reporters Thursday, Trump also acknowledged that the U.S. military has faced supply issues with some weapons, but has an unlimited supply of most ammunition.
We have certain types of munitions that are very powerful, that we have unlimited, virtual unlimited supply. We have others where it's a little bit tighter, and we're getting them in on a daily basis.
His comments come after Reuters reported that the U.S. Army had used much of its global stockpile of highly accurate, long-range missiles during the 5-month conflict with Iran. Trump also threatened to seek long prison sentences for anyone found responsible for leaking sensitive information about U.S. weapons supplies. Meanwhile, Iran and Oman are reportedly discussing a new framework for managing commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. According to a source at Iran's foreign ministry, cited by the semi-official Fars news agency, the proposal would eventually replace the strait's existing northern and southern shipping lanes with a centrally managed corridor. During an initial transition, ships would enter through the northern lane near Iran and exit through the southern lane near Oman. Eventually, all vessels would use a central shipping lane, with inbound traffic managed by Iran and outbound traffic jointly managed by Iran and Oman. Ships would also be required to pay fees for maritime services, including insurance, fueling, and environmental protection. The Iranian source denied reports that Tehran and Muscat are considering fees equal to 3 or 7% of a ship's cargo value. Instead, charges would vary depending on the services provided. The Strait of Hormuz remains one of the world's most important energy routes, making any agreement over its operation closely watched by global oil markets. Ising-jae, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, North Korea's unusual silence after launching a short-range ballistic missile late Thursday is fueling speculation that Pyongyang is timing its propaganda to maximize pressure during the South Korea-US ipchu Freedom Shield military exercises. Our Kim Do-yeon explains.
North Korea fired a short-range ballistic missile from the Wonsan area into the East Sea on Thursday, but on Friday, its state media has remained noticeably silent. Experts view this blackout as a deliberate maneuver tied to the upcoming ROK-US ipchu Freedom Shield military exercises.
The fact that North Korea did not report this suggests we cannot rule out the possibility of a concentrated batch report either during or at the conclusion of the ipchu Freedom Shield exercise.
South Korean and U.S. intelligence authorities have similarly withheld detailed flight metrics for this launch. This, experts see it as protecting tracking assets and maintaining strategic operational security. Military assessments classified the tested weapon within North Korea's short-range ballistic missile arsenal, the same 400 to 600 kilometer class systems currently deployed in Eastern Europe. According to foreign media citing Ukrainian defense intelligence reports, Pyongyang has dispatched roughly 90 specialized missile crew members to Russia to assist with operating KN-23 and KN-24 systems. While the foreign reports indicate these battlefield deployments allow North Korea to gather real-world data and refine guidance accuracy, there are also voices from diplomatic analysts noting that Ukraine may also be highlighting the North Korean threat to rally broader Western military support. All in all, South Korea's Ministry of National Defense emphasizes that South Korean and U.S. forces are closely tracking all related developments, maintaining tight intelligence sharing and robust joint defense capabilities. Allied forces reaffirm that the combined military posture remains fully equipped to detect and counter any short-range ballistic missile threats along the Central Front. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Here at home, President Lee Jae-myung has vowed to root out state violence and to ensure that it does not recur. Launching a state body to redress past atrocities, President Lee also invited victims of state violence to the Blue House on this Friday to offer an apology. He further added that the statute of limitations will not be applied to cases involving state violence. The Third Truth and Reconciliation Commission has been launched to look into forced overseas adoptions and human rights abuses committed by social welfare facilities and detention centers decades ago. And Finance Minister Koo Yoon-chul says the government will soon share targeted support measures to address challenges faced by people looking to get a mortgage. Speaking in a phone interview with the local media on this Friday, Koo acknowledged the need to ease lending restrictions for certain groups, including young adults, newlyweds and first-time homebuyers. He also said additional housing supply and financial measures will be rolled out soon, with the focus on increasing the supply of non-apartment housing. As for further measures on single-stock leveraged ETFs, which have been criticized for fueling market volatility, Koo said the government will soon continue monitoring the market and decide whether additional action is needed. K-pop may have opened the global door to Korea's modern sounds, but more foreign visitors are now seeking to learn about the country's traditional tunes. Our culture correspondent Chung Hye-rim files this report.
While many Koreans grow up encountering the instrument at least once, for these Japanese students, it's entirely new. They are hesitant and shy at first when trying to play the janggu, a traditional Korean drum, because of its unfamiliar shape and size. But within minutes, the classroom transforms into an energetic session of resounding drums and vibrant laughter. The National Gugak Center says more foreign visitors are now seeking opportunities to take classes like this, where they can experience traditional Korean music firsthand. Many of these students are seeing janggu for the first time, but the thunderous beat filling the room proves that they may be slowly falling in love with one of Korea's oldest instruments.
It is very fun. Korean unique instrument is very interesting for me, so I enjoy it very much.
It was difficult to catch up at first because the movements were quite fast, but it was fun at the end when all the sounds of different instruments came together.
The growing interest can also be seen in live performances. From January through July, more than 2,000 foreign visitors attended the Gugak Center's signature Saturday Gugak concert, accounting for roughly 1 in every 3 audience members. Meanwhile, a free English language program introducing traditional instruments at the center's museum has also drawn hundreds of foreign participants this year.
With K-culture gaining huge popularity through global icons like BTS's Arirang and traditional elements in K-pop Demon Hunters, foreign interest in Gugak has surged. Also, as inbound tourism recovers, we have prepared specialized performances and hands-on programs tailored for international guests.
To meet this demand, Korea is ramping up efforts to offer closer, more intimate cultural experiences. At the 40-seat Ongi concert, audiences can watch pansori, a traditional form of Korean musical storytelling, up close and entirely unamplified without microphones. After the show, visitors can speak directly with the artists, try out traditional instruments for themselves, and even dress in hanbok. As the Korean wave expands beyond pop music and television, more international visitors are discovering the sounds at the roots of Korean culture. By stepping into intimate concert halls and taking part in hands-on workshops, these foreign travelers are connecting with a heritage that is as living and dynamic as modern K-pop itself. Chung Hye-rim, Arirang News.
This is the world now. In the United States, President Donald Trump has signed 2 executive orders limiting birthright citizenship. The executive orders on Thursday come just weeks after the Supreme Court struck down his first attempt. They target what the White House calls, quote, birth tourism, foreigners traveling to the United States to give birth so their babies can become U.S. citizens. An aide said at Thursday's signing that the practice is now banned. They also limit citizenship for children of foreign government employees. Trump called the Supreme Court's 6-3 decision a, quote, disgrace, and said people are building businesses around birthright citizenship. Executive orders set policy but do not carry the force of law, and these are expected to be challenged in court. In Yemen, at least 30 government soldiers have been killed in attacks on military camps on Thursday. The Houthi movement says it fired the missiles and drones and that military vehicles and weapons depots were destroyed. The Iran-aligned Houthis say they hit Saudi troop positions in Marib and Hadramaut provinces and claim hundreds of Saudi-aligned fighters were killed or wounded. Officials say the death toll may rise. In Europe, football's governing body UEFA says it could still boycott FIFA competitions, including the World Cup. It says FIFA's defense of President Gianni Infantino code changes nothing. The English Football Association has also written to withdraw its support for the FIFA president. This follows Infantino's plan to sell stakes in FIFA's tournaments to private investors. FIFA has dropped the plan and apologized, but UEFA says its conditions have not been met. Infantino faces re-election in March. Kazakhstan has released a tiger into the wild as part of a reintroduction project, giving the country its first wild tiger in more than 70 years. An adult female Amur tiger named Umid, meaning hope, was released on July 31st into a nature reserve near Lake Balkhash. She is one of 4 tigers brought from Russia in May. The long-term goal is to establish a breeding population back in the wild. Chu Ji-han, Arirang News.
Today marks ipchu, the traditional start of autumn, but you certainly wouldn't know it from the scorching heat we had today. The brutal heat continued, especially across the western regions, and Seoul has been dealing with tropical nights for more than 2 weeks now, while Jeju Island is on day 31. With all that humidity in the mix, overnight temperatures will barely budge, making for another extremely hot and uncomfortable night. Meanwhile, the East Coast will see rain tomorrow and Sunday, with more than 150 millimeters possible in the mountainous and coastal areas of Gangwon-do province. And tomorrow, we could see some loud, sudden downpours popping up in parts of the country, including Seoul. We do have some better news heading into the weekend. The high-pressure system over Korea will shift slightly northwestward, taking some of the edge off this extreme heat. But we're still talking about heat wave level temperatures, so you'll definitely want to keep taking care of yourself in the heat. Now here's a look at the weather around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up right after this break is our daily panel session. Thank you for now.